I'm Mary Edith Morgan, and I've been asked to talk about one of the things my faith has brought me to do outside of Trinity. For around 30 years, I have been active in the Weeks of Guided Prayer, a ministry out of Hamilton Conference. I've done them in Toronto Conference as far as east as St. Timothy's Presbyterian Church in Ajax, and in London Conference at 2 United Churches in Stratford, where we had people attending from 7 different denominations. Locally, I participated in Weeks of Guided Prayer at Bridgeport, Calvary Memorial, Christ the King, Emmanuel, Parkminster, and Trinity. Also, St. Luke's Lutheran, WK Mennonite, and All Saints Anglican churches. And for the last 2 years, now at the Grand Valley Institute, the Prison for Women. People have been asking me what it is like to do guided prayer at the prison. For me, the hardest part is getting in. I had to have a security check, an orientation, and be fingerprinted. Each time we go, we have to press a button at an outside gate and say who we are and why we have come, before they will unlock the gate to let us into the grounds. Then we walk up some stairs and into the first building, where they let us in another locked door to the reception area. We show our ID and sign the register. All our stuff like ID, keys, money, etc. must be stowed in a locked locker. We are given a visitor's badge, which will let us through another 3 locked doors and into another building. But first, we and any items we want to bring in have to go through just like airport security. The other difference between holding a session in the prison and in a church is that people in jail are not able to meet with us every day, so we have adapted and call it a time of guided prayer. We meet 1 evening a week for 6 weeks. The women in the prison have all broken the law and in some way been caught, tried, convicted, and sentenced. Other than that, they're just like us all, trying to do the best they can in the situation in which they find themselves. What is a week of guided prayer? Well, it's a retreat in the midst of daily life that is guided by the Holy Spirit. You would be asked to spend 30 minutes at home and 30 minutes in the church meeting with a companion each day from Monday to Friday. Every year there is a theme. Last year it was woven with God's love, and this year it's living in God's time. The week begins with an opening session on Sunday afternoon. You would be introduced to the theme for the week and learn how to pray with selected Bible verses. This is quite different from Bible study. Rather than worrying about what happened 2,000 years ago, you will discern what God is saying to you personally today. The week concludes the following Saturday morning with a closing session and communion. I've noticed that there are some things that many people find intimidating about guided prayer. One is that they think they don't know how to pray or that they won't do it right. I think this fear comes from those of us who grew up going to church and hearing all the beautifully crafted prayers recited by clergy and other gifted speakers. But since, as we heard in the first lesson, God already knows what is in your heart, and all you have to do is say it as you feel it. Another one is how we see this Holy Spirit. If we see God as up in heaven looking down on us, we can feel intimidated. But once we realize that God is everywhere, and that includes in our hearts, then when we take the time to be quiet and listen, we will be able to hear that still small voice in the midst of all the other voices taking space up in our heads. So after 30 years, I'm still listening, still learning, and still have the great privilege of walking with others as they do the same. The next local week of guided prayer will be held this fall at Calvary Memorial United Church from November the 4th to the 10th. And I've brought some daily sheets from this year and last, and they're on the table there. So if you want to take one and look and see what kinds of things we read and pray about, feel free to take one. Thank you.